Tranquility Jade Massage, starting with a Tranquility ritual for the back of the body. So a few drops of Tranquility oil blend into the hands, and from there we move on to the back. We can push down the towel gently, and then long gliding strokes up the spine. First with quite a firm pressure, using your body as well to have that fluidity. And then the strokes get lighter and lighter until they're finally like a feather. And then with both hands, we compress at the upper back, nice firm contact to start releasing the tension. And then we go into our containment holds. So the first one at the upper area, then the middle of the back, so really sink in, hold, and then release. And then down towards the waist and hip area. Nice slow movements. We can bring the towel back up, cover our client. And then walk down the legs to the back of the knees. And when we reach the back of the knees, again we can sink in. Nice slow, deep sinking movements 3 times. And then carry on walking down the legs to the feet. And finish with contact on the feet. And release gracefully. Tranquility Jade Massage on the back. So starting with the spheres placed at the lumbar area in line with the kidneys, and circular movements over those areas. The next movement is sliding back and forth up the erector muscles. So rolling the spheres up and then back down. The next movement will be a cross slide movement over the erector muscles. It's almost like a crisscrossing movement. You can see the speed is slow. The concentration is really there, making sure the spheres are moving constantly. So very soothing and relaxing for the client. The next movement will be a stretch from our sacrum area to the C7 vertebra. So a nice firm, deep stretch up the erectors, all the way up to C7, and then glide down. The next step, with one hand resting on the sacrum area and the other hand at the C7, slow rotations over the C7. So the lower hand stays firm whilst the other one rotates. And the following movement is where both rotate simultaneously. For the next movement, the upper hand comes down to meet the lower hand. And they both glide up again, up the erectors. When we reach the neck, we actually drop the stones gently onto the bed. Tranquility massage on the face with the jade spheres. First movement is below the clavicles, in line with the shoulders, and static rotations. A nice firm contact, using your body to help with that movement of rhythm and flow, and stay there for a few seconds. The next movement is down at the solar plexus. We can use one stone, slightly moving the towel down, and place the stone at the solar plexus. The next movement will be at the mandible area, at the insertion of the mandible. So 2 spheres are needed. This is a great movement to release tension in the jaw area. We then move up to the zygomatic arch. So great relieving and draining movement for the sinuses and congestion. And then we glide up to the temples. And then we concentrate on the eye area, on the orbital bone. Nice gliding movements all across the orbital area. This will help with puffiness, dark circles, and tiredness. And from there, we glide down to the mouth area and concentrate on the mouth and lip contour. And then we finish with our very first movement, which was at the clavicles, in line with the shoulders. Jade massage on the arms, so starting from the shoulder and working to the wrist, half moon opening movements. So firm pressure, really opening from the center outwards and working all the way down to the wrist. This can also be repeated 3 times. For the next step, when we reach the wrist, we alternately rotate with the spheres over the wrist crease. And from here, with one hand, rest with the sphere under the wrist, while the other hand and sphere rotate over the wrist crease. For the next step, we'll actually turn our arm to be palm up, keeping one hand and sphere in our client's hand. The other one will glide up from the wrist to the elbow in an opening circular movement. The same movement will be repeated, but now on the upper arm. In this position, with the guest's hand resting in ours, alternating gliding movements over the entire palm. From here, we can stay in this position. We keep one sphere resting in the palm of the hand, while the other moves up to the hollow of the elbow and carries out smooth, stretching movements. So very soothing but fluid movements. And we can finish the arm with a closing effleurage, entire arm. And release gracefully. Jade massage on the feet. So place one sphere on top of the foot and hold it in place with your hand, whilst the other hand and sphere do rotations on the sole of the foot. The next movement, we have gliding, stretching movements horizontally across the sole of the foot. And then static rotations all over the ball of the foot. And now gliding, stretching movements back and forth along the central line, from heel to toes. From here, we'll move down to the heel and have horizontal stretches back and forth above the heel. From here, we can move up the entire foot with the same type of movement until we reach the toes. And when we reach the toes, we carry out horizontal gliding stretches just under the toes. For the next movement, we place one sphere under the internal ankle bone, whilst the other sphere glides up from the outer ankle bone all the way up the tibia to the knee. And glide back down again. A nice firm pressure on the upward stroke all the way up that tibia muscle. And now both hands glide together from the ankle up to and behind the knee to carry out 3 pumping movements. From there, both hands will glide down the leg to the ankle and carry out pumping movements alongside the Achilles tendon. From there, one sphere will go below the foot, on the base of the foot, while the other one stays on the metatarsals, and glide up through the metatarsals one by one. And from here we finish the foot by a closing effleurage up the calf, back down to the foot. And gracefully come off the foot and repeat on the other side.